Welcome, everyone. It's great to see the participants logging in from near and far. Thank you for being here today. My name is Lori Peak, and I am the principal investigator for the National Science Foundation supported CONVERGE initiative, which is headquartered here at the Natural Hazard Center at the University of Colorado Boulder. CONVERGE is dedicated to advancing convergence research for the hazards and disaster field through providing training resources and connecting researchers across disciplines. On behalf of the entire team, it is our pleasure to welcome you to the CONVERGE webinar series. Today, during this brief 30-minute webinar, we are going to share an overview of our CONVERGE Extreme Events Research Check Sheets. These free, short check sheets offer best practice guidance for extreme events research. These check sheets are designed for students and other emerging researchers who are new to the field, as well as for teachers and mentors who are supporting extreme events research projects. The dozens of check sheets that we now have available are meant to be used as researchers design their studies, prepare to enter the field, conduct research, and exit the field to share their findings. A few logistical items before proceeding any further. This webinar is being recorded. The caption recording and slides will be posted on the CONVERGE website at converge.colorado.edu on the communications page. Should you have any questions or comments during the webinar, please use the Q&A box or the chat box. If we are unable to respond during this brief webinar, we will post written responses on the CONVERGE webinar webpage for this session. The check sheets that you will hear about today were made possible thanks to the support of the U.S. National Science Foundation and the Institute for Catastrophic Loss Reduction, or ICLR in Canada. We are so grateful for this support, and I will now turn it over to Paul Kovacs, who is founder and executive director of ICLR, for a few words. Paul, over to you.
Thank you, Lori. The Institute for Catastrophic Loss Reduction was pleased to partner with the Natural Hazard Center and CONVERGE to advance this check sheets project. In Canada, the Institute's been working to further build our capacity to support and fund quick response research. Having this repository of knowledge readily available will not only be of use to researchers in Canada, but we hope will be helpful to researchers all around the world. Last summer, researchers across Canada gathered together for 3 online forums focused on advancing quick response research. Lori and Jennifer were part of these online conferences that culminated in new collaborations and contributions to the check sheet series. As you'll see today, there's dozens of check sheets currently available for free online to support the research community. While most of these have been written by researchers in the United States and Canada, we're hopeful that the widespread release of the check sheets will encourage more contributions from researchers in other nations as well. With that, I really want to acknowledge the strength of the partnership between the Institute and the National Hazard Center, and to thank all of those who contributed check sheets to date. We're so pleased with the progress so far with this series and look forward to seeing how this continues to evolve as more researchers become involved. Thank you, Lori.
Thank you, Paul, so much. This initiative really would not have been possible without the support from the ICLR and NSF and the vision that you really had to make sure that we were bringing together researchers across borders and boundaries to share our knowledge and insights. So thank you so much, and thanks for being here today. And today, in addition to welcoming the welcome from Paul, we're also going to be hearing from 4 speakers, all of whom are authors or co-authors of several check sheets in the series that you're going to learn more about today. So first, we will be hearing from Rachel Adams, who is a research associate at the Natural Hazard Center and CONVERGE. Melissa Villarreal and Jessica Austin are both graduate research assistants at the center and at CONVERGE. And they will follow Rachel. And then we will hear from Jeff Burchall, who is an assistant professor in the School of Urban and Regional Planning at the University of BERTA. So first, please join me in welcoming Rachel Adams. Rachel is the co-author of 3 check sheets in the series, 2 of which are dedicated to helping investigators conduct and write a systematic literature review. And the 3rd check sheet that Rachel led is dedicated to writing a data management plan. So Rachel, on to you.
Thank you for that introduction, Lori. As Lori mentioned, my name is Rachel Adams, and I'm going to tell you about the check sheets we currently have available and the multiple ways that the check sheets can be utilized. The CONVERGE check sheets are intended to assist both early career researchers and those new to social science research with conducting ethical and rigorous work by outlining best practices for extreme events research. We currently have 34 check sheets available, spanning topics ranging from methodological approaches to ethical considerations to data analysis and dissemination. Each check sheet is available for download as a PDF. They are also organized into one of the following 7 categories: preparing to conduct extreme events research, IRB and ethical considerations, geographic considerations, cultural competence and power differentials, social science methods and approaches, training, mentoring, and building teams, collecting data and conducting fieldwork, data management and data use, data analysis and data publication, and sharing and communicating results. In addition to being utilized by the research community, we hope that you will consider using them as instructional materials in the classroom or as assigned readings for your students. We also think these check sheets can be especially helpful in the context of interdisciplinary research, as they serve as a quick primer on several core principles for social science quick response research. I will now turn it over to Melissa Villarreal. Melissa has authored 2 check sheets, with the first one focused on best practices for ethical post-disaster community outreach, and the second on best practices for research with non-English dominant populations. Take it away, Melissa.
Thank you, Rachel. As Rachel said, my name is Melissa, and I will take a couple of minutes to share my screen and show you where the CONVERGE check sheets are located. Okay, as you can see on the screen here, you can find the check sheets at converge.colorado.edu/resources/check sheets. As Rachel just described, these are categorized in the 10 boxes that you see on the screen. If you click on the hyperlink title for each of these tiles, you will find the check sheets corresponding to that category. For example, if I click on the first category, preparing to conduct extreme events research, you will see 5 different check sheets under that theme. If there's a check sheet that you would like to read from these, you would simply then click on the title of the check sheet. For example, I will now click on the first check sheet, Research Design Table. This check sheet is by Lori Peak. You can see now that this check sheet on research design, which is intended to assist investigators in ensuring that they have properly addressed the variety of research design questions that arise in the proposal writing and review stages for social science studies. One of the hallmarks of these series is that we have attempted to keep these check sheets quite focused and brief, so they are easily consumable and readily usable. As you can see from Lori's check sheet, it's only 1 page, but it gives an at-a-glance overview of the research design process. Now that I have shown you where the check sheets are located, I will now turn it over to Jessica Austin. Jessica has authored and co-authored several check sheets related to social science methods, sampling, and privacy requirements for data. On to you, Jess.
Thank you, Melissa. We really hope that all of you on the webinar today will spend some time on the CONVERGE website to review the many check sheets that we already have available. We also acknowledge that there are many other areas that warrant check sheets. Because we have tried to keep these narrowly focused, there are so many other possibilities for contributing to the series. And if you have any ideas, we hope you might consider authoring or co-authoring a check sheet. Today, I'm going to highlight 3 categories of check sheets where we are especially eager to receive additional contributions. The first is in the area of geographic considerations. To date, we have 2 check sheets in this category, both written by colleagues in Canada regarding things that researchers should know about the Canadian emergency management infrastructure. We are excited to receive other check sheets from other regions of the world that highlight geographic specific considerations. A second category where we are looking for additional contributions is in the area of training, mentoring, and building teams. This category currently includes 1 check sheet on safely conducting quick response research, tips for graduate students and supervisors. But we are looking for more such check sheets written by both early career as well as more seasoned researchers in the field. We are also soliciting check sheets in the area of data analysis and data publication. This category will include check sheets on the publication of data sets, data collection instruments, and protocols. This is a topic that you are going to hear more about in just a moment. For now, please know that if you have ideas for check sheets in these or any other categories, we hope you will contact us at converge@colorado.edu about authoring your own. And I am now going to pass the mic to Jeff Birchall, who is one of our colleagues and contributors from the University of Alberta in Canada. Jeff and his talented graduate students have authored check sheets on collecting data and staying safe in the context of extreme events research. Jeff, over to you.
Thank you so much, Jessica. As Paul mentioned at the outset, I'm one of the researchers in Canada who took part last summer in the 3-part webinar series on advancing quick response research. After that series ended, I worked with my graduate students to write up a series of check sheets based on our fieldwork experience. We then worked with the CONVERGE team. They reviewed, edited, and formatted the check sheets, and we readied them for publication. As a final step in the process, and thanks to a partnership between CONVERGE and the Design Safe Cyber Infrastructure, we were then able to publish the check sheets and receive a permanent digital object identifier, or a DOI, for our work. This was very appealing to us, as we know that having a permanent DOI will increase the discoverability of these free online publications. We are very much looking forward to continuing to partner with the CONVERGE and Natural Hazard Center teams to ensure that this best practice guidance is shared with a larger audience. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Jennifer Tobin, who co-edits the check sheet series with Lori Peak to close out the session. Jennifer, on to you.
Thank you so much, Jeff, and to all the presenters for this overview today. I just want to remind our participants that you can access the CONVERGE check sheets at converge.colorado.edu /resources/check-sheets. And in addition, please know that this webinar has been recorded and will be posted on the CONVERGE website at converge.colorado.edu /communications. Finally, I want to reiterate that the invitation that Jessica issued earlier. We hope that you will reach out should you have any ideas for check sheets you would like to author yourself. If you would like to contribute, please email us at converge@colorado.edu. And in particular, we are looking for check sheets that will continue to fill out the categories we've already outlined, as well as check sheets that represent disaster research outside of the social sciences. For example, what would a structural engineer need to know before heading into the field that is not already included in our series? Or what might be useful for researchers conducting disaster research online, especially as lessons are so fresh from the pandemic? These and many other topics we would like to see covered in our check sheet series. So we'd love to hear your idea about any gaps that we can continue to fill. And so these check sheets would not have come to life without the support of the National Science Foundation and the Institute for Catastrophic Loss Reduction. We would love to thank Paul Kovacs again for all the support and for joining us today. The contributions from our Canadian colleagues have greatly enhanced the series, and we look forward to ongoing collaborations. We also want to acknowledge the entire team here at the Natural Hazard Center. Everyone at the Hazard Center has contributed to these check sheets in some way, either through reviewing, formatting, or otherwise supporting this effort. We also want to thank all of you for taking the time to be part of this webinar. And so now we do have some time remaining for questions from the chat box or from the Q&A box. So if you do have questions for us, we'll like to open it up to discussion now. Feel free to put your questions in the Q&A box or the chat box. Okay, so Austin Becker says, could you talk a little bit about the inspiration for developing these? Lori, would you like to take that one?
Sure, I would love to. And then I'd love to pass it over to Paul as well to respond to that one, because we definitely talked a lot about this. So I'd say the initial urge to create this series was really core to the mission of Converge, that Converge recognizes that if we're really going to do convergence research that is deeply interdisciplinary and that is problem focused and solutions based, the only way we can do that is if we develop a common language, a common understanding, and if we have baseline training materials that are available for members of our field. And given that we know that the hazards and disaster research field does remain highly event driven, and that researchers are oftentimes sort of looking for quick primers and a download on what is already available and what do we already know in this field theoretically, methodologically, and empirically, that's part of Converge's mission to try to build out that baseline foundation, drawing on the decades of incredible research that has been generated by researchers in our field. And so the idea for the check sheets was one idea for one of the training components that was in the initial Converge grant. And so I will pause there though, because Paul has been leading some extraordinary efforts in Canada to really develop the quick response research community there. And so that's what started bridging us together. And so Paul, what else would you say in response to Austin's great question?
Thanks, Laurie. And Austin, thank you for the question. Taking a more narrow Canadian perspective, in the engineering and science community, this field is quite advanced. If there is a tornado, we have a team that goes on site. They're allowed behind the police lines. They do a forensic evaluation and it immediately goes into building code officials, to the construction industry. Here's what went wrong. Here's what this event tells us. You know, we're not building properly, or whatever we find. And so the engineers and scientists have been on this kind of, what can you learn immediately after an event? But in the social science community, we are not organized in Canada the same way. And so this conversation that the Hazard Center, Laurie's team has got a long history of doing work in this field. And so how could we bring to the emerging discipline in Canada, having social scientists also trying to immediately learn after an event, but some sort of consistent ways, so that one team that goes in and learns from an event in one part of the country can generate information that can be useful elsewhere for other learnings. Can we bring some consistency? How can people with experience doing this write down some things they've learned and share that with other researchers? So you don't have to go right back to the beginning and solve problems that others have been through, and they have advice to help you when the period occurs. So anyway, my passion in Canada, I think the engineering and science community are on top of this, and they do it really well, actually. And I'd love to build the capacity of the social science community. I'm an economist, so we also can contribute to these issues more than we have. And our early experience has been amazing, working with Jeff and others. I mean, the projects that have been completed were just outstanding. And to learn from that in this way through the checklist is just going to help build this into something that will grow in importance over time.
Thank you, Paul. It's a good segue to this next question from Madeline Cruz, who asks, she says, these seem like amazing resources, and I'm excited to spend some time looking at them. Thank you, Madeline. For the Canadian researchers, are the research-oriented check sheets consistent with the TCPS2?
Let me jump in. So as the person responsible for the Canadian one, I don't know what TCPS2 stands for. So that's a really bad sign, and I apologize. So Madeline, if you can tell me what the letters stand for, I go out of my way to not use acronyms. So maybe I know the answer, but I certainly don't know it by the acronym. So I apologize for not knowing how to answer the question.
Okay, I'll wait for Madeline's response if she wants to write in the Q&A.
If I can just extend and guess where the letters might mean. Ethics approval is a real challenge in Canada. So if it has anything to do with getting ethics approval, for our colleagues not from Canada, this is a headache every time we've tried to support a project. And ethics approval is not guided, in my opinion, by the national conversations. It's one university at a time interpreting this. And so it is led to an outcome where some researchers have asked us to spend some time with the ethics approval processes in each of their universities so that we might want to be better prepared. Quick response is only quick when you can get through the bureaucracy. And one of the bureaucracies that has been a challenge fairly consistently in Canada has been ethics. And some universities have been much more accommodating. So my apology for not knowing the acronyms, but anticipating that part of the dialogue might be ethics. This was an attempt to work through that, and it is not resolved. It is a challenge.
Thank you, Paul. Next, we have a question from Diana. Diana asks, have you considered developing these not only for quick response research, but for historical research? And are there any check sheets related to forensic research?
I can take that one just quickly. It is a great question, Diana. And while this, we actually sort of renamed this series Extreme Events Research in attempt to capture that we really are trying to get at the full disaster life cycle and at the different types of research that people do, from mitigation to quick response to recovery research, for example. And so Diana, while you're right that some of these check sheets really are about entering the field quickly, Jen led a great one on doing virtual reconnaissance in the immediate aftermath of disaster and so forth. So while many of these do have a sort of quick response or rapid response angle, there are also many check sheets that I think are applicable regardless of when in the disaster life cycle you're doing research. So like the ones that Rachel led with her team related to doing a literature review and so forth. So Paul, what would you add to that great question?
Thank you, Laurie. The small part I'll add is on the last part of the question dealing with forensic research. So more a caution than adding more. I was a volunteer for the International Council for Science over in Paris. Anybody want to volunteer for Paris work? Anyway, it was nice to volunteer to do some work with the folks in Paris. And they came up with a program called Forensic, I forget what the other letters stand for, but this was a global guidance document about doing investigations after an event. It was not quick response, but the first word was forensic. And it was highly controversial. And the point of that style of research was to call people out. We were looking at the drivers behind why the loss occurred. You know, why was somebody living in the floodplain? Not you know, it really rained hard or something, but who let those people live there? Or anyway, so the point of that style of research was to really identify the root causes for the bad event occurring and call it out. Some of those people went to court. Sometimes, you know, people were taken to court because of being called out, right? Anyway, it's a different style of research, and not everybody wants to get into that space. But anyway, it's an interesting field to deliberately do forensic research. I would suggest that the people we work with that are not from the social science community, but the people in the engineering community, they love it, actually. You know, it's a different spirit sometimes in different fields, but some people in the social science community do like that. And there is guidance from groups like the International Council for Science if you really are passionate about forensic evaluation. Rather than the work that the Hazard Center and ICLR are promoting, which is quick response from social scientists to get in there before something's all gone and learn very quickly in the moment. Forensic is a field. It's a very interesting field, but it has very different and unique challenges. These guidance sheets are helpful, but there's a lot of things that I don't think are covered in any of the guidance I've seen so far if you want to get into forensic analysis.
Thank you, Paul. And then this next question is very similar to the last one. And Sam Adams says, great work on this process. I'm curious if the rapid response approach has been applied to evaluating the emergency management response structure following a major event.
So just quickly, Sam, that is a great question. And while the check sheets don't summarize empirical research in that sort of way, they're definitely, for decades, researchers have conducted observational research, interview research, survey research, and so forth to do exactly that kind of important evaluation work that you're referring to. And I would point you to the CONVERGE training modules for some more of that sort of empirical summary in a variety of different topical areas. And I saw a couple of people ask about putting links in the chat box. And if you go to converge.colorado.edu and just click on the resources tab, from there you can find both the training modules and the check sheets. Thank you.
And Norma asks, I'm working on disaster research. Is there a check sheet that can show me how to best summarize my data for publication?
Rachel, would you take that one since you led the data management plan check sheet?
Sure. The data management plan check sheet talks a lot about, once you've collected data, the best way to manage it to ensure that it's secure and can be accessed by others in your research team, but then also moving on to disseminating that data via publication. And specifically, there's some discussion of how you would go and publish your data on online repositories such as design safe cyber infrastructure. It doesn't specifically talk about presenting data in like a peer-reviewed publication, but I definitely think it's worthwhile to check that out in seeing ways to manage and disseminate your data once it's collected.
Great, thank you. And so I have two similar questions, one from Austin Becker and another from an anonymous attendee that says, how should students, both graduate and undergraduate, get more involved with CONVERGE? And how can graduate students be more involved in CONVERGE research?
I hope Melissa and Jessica, as two brilliant graduate students, might answer that one.
I am going to plug the SSEER network, which is our Social Science Extreme Events Research Network. And the goal of SSEER is to identify and map social scientists who have done or are planning to do disaster research. It's specifically for social scientists, and we hope that by getting people's names together, and we have a map, and mapping those individuals, we can kind of start having a resource for reaching out to others. There are graduate students there, there are seasoned researchers there, and so I would thank you so much, Lori, for putting that link. I was just going to say the link, but Lori was kind enough to put it in the chat. That's one of the resources we have for getting involved, and I highly encourage you to sign up, because by signing up, you will be added to the map, and then you will also receive all of our announcements that get sent to the SSEER listserv. And Melissa, I don't know if you have anything you'd like to add.
I'll just say it's super easy to sign up for SSEER. So if you want to take 2 minutes to do it after this webinar, I mean, it really will not take you more than that, I don't think. And I just want to reiterate what was said earlier about, if you have any ideas for how to contribute to the check sheets or any other projects with us, please email us at converge@colorado.edu. And that's, I think, the easiest way to get in contact with us at CONVERGE, and let us know if you have any ideas or questions about how to get involved with something specific. And especially if, like Jess said, like you get on that listserv and that's how you're going to get a lot of the opportunities and notices for different things. And so, yeah, we hope to hear from you.
Thank you, Melissa and Jessica. Okay, so our 30 minutes are now up. So if you've placed a question in the chat or the Q&A box, please know that we will, you can email us at converge@colorado.edu, or we will respond to those questions in the chat box. So thank you again for your support, and please contact us if you have any questions and any suggestions for how we can best share these check sheets with others. And then, as Melissa just mentioned, please visit converge.colorado.edu/signup to receive future alerts regarding check sheets and many other resources being developed from Converge. Have a great day, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us.
Bye, everyone.